Welcome to Francis Quilts, the site dedicated to the wonderful art of quilting, with a few other fun things thrown in as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be notified of future videos.
Hey guys, welcome back to Francis Quilts. Don't you just love it when your clothes are completely covered with threads and strings? It means it's been a great morning in the studio, and it certainly has for me. I am working on this piece, which is a series of 60-degree diamonds. I've been enamored with these for a little while now, and I've been playing with them. And the only thing that's hard about these is you have those horrible inset seams. You know, the ones where you have this has to fit in that area right there, and those can be a pain to do. Many years ago, I took a class with Guyleen Fitzgerald and bought her book Polygon Affair, and she has a marvelous method of putting those blocks together and being able to do those Y seams right there. So today I wanted to just work through that and show you myself how I'm doing them. And one of the reasons for this video is so I can go back and remind myself when I forget. And just to tell you, I had done this video a week ago, and then when I came back upstairs to keep working on the project, I couldn't remember how to do it. So I pulled out my phone and looked at the video and reminded myself how to do it again. Anyway, let's go to the machine and let me show you the technique that I have learned from Guyleen. All right, this is the block that I'm going to be sewing today. These three 60-degree diamonds forming a hexagon. Obviously, two pieces are easy to go together, but it's getting this third one in that can cause the problem, so we want to talk about that some. The first thing we're going to do is to sew these two pieces together. So I'm just simply going to put this one over here. I'm going to line it up really well. I like to line up the entire diamond. Not just along that edge, but I like to come down here and make sure that it's lined up well on both sides. Now I'm going to sew from here straight down. Notice that I have my masking tape on here for my 1/4 inch seam guide, because it's important to have a good 1/4 inch when you're doing this. All right, let's open it up and let me give it a press. So here is the piece sewn and ironed. We have these first two together. We're going to remember we're going to be putting it together like this. So it's going to have the dark blue, the lighter blue, and then the orange here in this corner. When we start thinking about sewing this, we're actually going to flip it over and look at it from the back. The first side that we want to sew together is the side that does not have the seam allowance on it. So since the seam allowance is pushed this direction, we don't want to do that one. We want to sew this one first. So we're going to take this seam and this, we're going to put them together like so, and we'll line them up perfectly in the corner here. Get that one lined up. Again, I like to line up the whole diamond, not just that one side. And we're going to sew from here, and we're going to stop when we get to the end of that fabric. Let's make sure it's lined up well. Go all the way through to the end of that fabric, and then we're through. All right, let me press this side out as well. So I'm going to press this side going that direction. You honestly don't even have to press that at this point, but I think it makes it a little bit easier to see. Now we're going to open this up like this so we can see it all the way. And we're going to look at the stitches right here. We have this line right here and this line right here. We want to pick those stitches out, coming back to where it meets at that point. Now I'm going to encourage you to use a stiletto or something like that to pick them out rather than your seam ripper, because your seam ripper has that one little edge that's really sharp, and if you get carried away, it's real easy to actually break that thread. It's not the end of the world if you do, but if you are picking out the stitches rather than cutting them, it will make your block a little more secure. This takes a minute. It's a little bit harder when you're doing it on camera, so that's part of the problem. Okay, So we have the stitches mostly out there. We may need to take another one out right there, but we'll see in a minute. Now what we're going to do is take this piece that is the whole one right here, and we're going to fold it in half. So we're going to be folding it like this, and you see when we do that, these wings come back towards each other right here. And we can line them up along the piece that we already had there. So those wings are lined up. Let me come in here and put a pin in just to hold those in place while we're getting ready for the rest of it. Let's turn it from here and look. Okay, we have those lines are lined up, our edges are lined up. Now I'm looking right here, it seems to me that it's pulling just a little bit, so I think I'm going to take out one of those stitches. I can see it right there. I'm just going to reach in there and pull it out like that, and that'll help that to lay flat. Excuse me. We want this to lay nice and flat. Now we're going to line up down here at the bottom. You might want to put a pin in there, or you may want to just do it freehand. I tend to do it freehand. And we're going to sew from here. We're going to start here, and we're going to sew all the way down to that point. Make sure everything's lined up. Now let's open this up and see the magic. If we open like here, look, we have a gorgeous point right here, and we have a nice block. When you get ready to press this, it's going to be important to just kind of look and see how the seams are going. I tend to say that the last piece that I put on, which is this orange piece, I want it to lay flat like this. So if I have those two going right there, this one you'll see it's going to kind of tell you which way it's going to go. So it's already pressed that way, so I'm going to press it that way, and I press these two down like this. Let me do that real quick. And there we have our hexagon block ready to go. All right, let me show you one other thing before we leave these 60-degree diamonds. You've seen when we sew these together like this and we sew down there that it forms this V shape in the center. But what if we want them instead to be like this, so that we're going to have one line, one straight line coming all the way down here? If we just put them together like this and line up the points and sew over, it's not going to work. They're going to be offset. So what we have to do is plan for that offset when we are piecing. So what we're going to do is leave about 1/4 inch here. We want, when the needle comes in at the 1/4 inch mark, we want it to hit right there on that point. And then we're going to come over here, and it's going to hang off the other side. And the same thing, when the needle comes off of this orange, we want it to be right at that point where the white comes in. So let me sew this, and we'll have a look and see if we got it right. And believe me, I have unpicked more of these than I want to think about. Let's give it a press. All right, if we look at it, there we go. We have a straight seam going all the way down here and a straight seam going across there like that. So it's very important, if you're trying to get a straight line, you want to offset those. If you're trying to get a V shape in it, you want to line them up perfectly to stitch. Well, when you do it that way, it makes it look fairly easy. But believe me, there has been a lot of ripping out on this quilt. But I'm still having a lot of fun doing it. As you can see, I'm working through different rounds of it, and now I have to figure out what's going to happen next. So stay tuned, and we'll tell you more about it as it goes along. Thanks for joining me again today. I hope to see you again soon.
Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francisquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Francis Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.